All right. Thank you for tuning in today to WDRB Media, the voice of the community. You are listening to your host of The Digital Leap, coming to you live with CookieTruth and
Blanche Drayton Robinson, the Watcher.
yes, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. Again, this is The Digital Leap with another episode. And we're super excited because we get to just have a little bit of fun today talking about not necessarily specific news topics, but we wanted to address how the news itself has changed in the digital leap, in the digital age, in the digital era.
Yes.
All right, so we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about a few other things that the digital leap has brought to us as it deals with, like, again, not just news, but just our culture and how we have like changed our views on things. And we'll get more into the specifics, of course, but we wanted to kind of dive into this conversation because just over the last, I don't know, 2 weeks alone, Mom, there has been so much news that we have gotten, good news and bad, from all sorts of directions, whether it was the drummer that passed away from Earth, Wind, and Fire, whom you love. I mean, I love them too, but hold a special place in your heart because that was your era. Yeah. So like people passing away, you hear about that, but then also it's like really good news, you know, persons like your boy Jeremy Renner doing much better.
I'm so happy about that.
And then you know, one of our faves, the Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin, doing much better. So like all of that news that we've had over the last couple weeks now has come at us really fast.
Yes, it has. And you know, then there's another NFL player, his last Peyton, I can't think of the other name, but
remember what team?
He played for, was it in New England at one point?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, but you know, there's been a lot of requests for him too because he is suffering because something went down as far as his children. He went to save the kids, and then he's been in hospital ever since.
Oh, is that the person who saw that some kids were drowning, I think, and then he tried to save them? Because I read something about
it was his children.
I don't know if he's current NFL player or former. That part I'm not sure, to be honest. But a player of NFL at some point in time saw some kids that were drowning and went to save them, and in the process he ended up being injured or harmed or something bad happened. But all of this news started coming at us super fast from the different, you know, outlets that we're plugged into. And it's really interesting because all of these things tend to, I don't know, kind of like come at us depending on the platform that we choose to be on the most. So for you, that's typically what platform that you're like getting most of your news from?
More or less, maybe Facebook or TV.
Right.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So for me, I'm getting most of my news from Twitter and Instagram. That's usually the two. And more often than not, I'm on Twitter intentionally to see news updates because they come in real time. Yeah. Which is why Twitter is still one of my favorite platforms because of things being in real time in that way.
And I just want to interject the guy, his name is
the player.
Peyton Hill.
Okay. Running back?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so he was a former NFL player, and I guess it was a swimming incident. I did remember that part correctly.
Yeah, he was rescuing kids from drowning,
Wow, so it's like a bunch of different things are going on all the time. Like I said, good and bad, but it's just all the time. Things are constantly being like broadcasted.
Yeah, and tragedy always has a way of really putting us on high alert.
Yeah.
You know,
because it grabs your attention.
Yes, it does, because you just wonder, okay, you know, what's going to be the outcome of it, and who's all affected by that, and just
is everybody all right, or they didn't make it, or something like that.
So it has a far-reaching effect. Whereas in the good news, people are happy and they say, you know, did you hear this and that, and then you move on. But when tragedy happens, it kind of lingers and it just leaves you at a
for some reason, tragedy tends to stop people, even if it's just for a quick minute. It tends to stop them in their tracks a little bit. Now, When it comes down to good news, though, I think people move on because it ain't their good news. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Do with that with what you may, but I really do believe that.
Yeah,
I truly
true.
believe that, like, people fall into comparison and jealousy so easily.
Quickly, yes.
So easily to where it's very hard for people to genuinely celebrate good news
and
not move too quickly.
Yeah, and I'm always reminded of scripture that says, rejoice with those who rejoice, and mourn with those who mourn. And I just think some people just haven't gotten to that point where they can do it because they're so either self-centered or lack self-esteem. There's so many
or
things.
all of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah, it's sad though, because like you said, the good news doesn't last as long. We move on from it. And then with bad news, we feel the need to tell everybody.
Yes.
Like if someone passes away, it's like you got to call them and tell them immediately. And I don't like that.
I know you don't. I know.
Don't wake me up.
That out the hard way.
Don't wake me up to tell me no bad news. It will be there when I wake up, unless it's like an emergency type situation. Obviously, that's different. Yeah. But I mean, if somebody has passed away, I don't get the point of waking me up to tell me that. I'm so sorry, but not sorry at all, because I just do not get the point. Like, I am asleep. I want to at least be well rested when I get this inevitable bad news. Like, why do I have to lose sleep and get bad news? I just don't think that's fair. That's just my opinion. Y'all don't have to agree. It does not matter. I feel how I feel.
Yeah, but I wonder how many people do feel that way, though. That would be interesting finding out.
Hey, listen, y'all let us know, okay?
But it doesn't bother me if, something, because, what happens a lot of times, bad news brings a burden. And when you share that burden, it releases you. Yeah. And sometimes it may interfere with someone else's day or their peace
rest.
of mind or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. But you have to consider, the situation and be very compassionate about it, because you just know that it carries a burden, and sometimes that burden is a little heavy to carry along.
And it's one thing, like if it's a family member that has passed away and so you're letting someone know, obviously those circumstances are different. But if it's like just some famous person that I do not know at all whatsoever, and the news has hit all of the media outlets to say so-and-so has passed, I don't need a phone call, a text message to wake me up with that said news. I don't need that, guys.
Okay. Point well taken.
Just saying. So if you feel the same as I do, congratulations. You are free from the matrix, I guess. I don't know what to tell y'all. but no, it's really true. And I feel like what we were just talking about as far as good news is concerned, it's really challenging for people to accept someone else's good news and legitimately celebrate that for an extended period of time. It's one thing to be like, oh, congratulations in a text message or an emoji, like, confetti emoji, but that's just like so fleeting. It's not an actual celebration of the good news.
Right, because I think that when you really truly are celebrating that person, you would spend some time on the topic and just letting them express
Let
themselves.
It marinate.
Yeah, and say, hey, how do you feel, and how did it come about, and just get really into the nitty-gritty of it, as opposed to just, oh, congratulations, I'm happy for you, and then, oh, but did you see so-and-so, and leave it alone. And that's something that we should really be a little cognizant of.
We should try to be better in that regard, for sure. Yeah, because I feel like if I'm the person that has some good news to share, I'm gonna go to the people that I love the most, or I know like care. Yeah, of course. The people that I think care about me the most, love me the most, in order to like have a community that can embrace that good news and be just as happy as I am. And like it's the whole win for everybody to an extent, because when you win, I win. You know, it's like what you said, scripture tells us about rejoice with those whom rejoice, right? So I'm like, if I am going to people whom I know and love, and I believe they know and love me back, and then I go to tell you this said good news and it just falls flat, that's probably not a good sign.
Yeah.
Like, is there a little jealousy lingering in there? Because you're not as happy as one should be with this type of news.
And a lot of times, and you judge it by your own feelings about a situation or about a thing, you know, because if you are genuinely happy about someone, you are genuinely happy, and you're going to express that, and you're going to make that person know that you are very, very happy for them, and you're just excited that it happened for them. And that's the kind of response that you would like to receive.
Exactly.
And if you don't receive that, then it makes you like, I wonder why, you know.
I wonder. Yeah, it's really interesting because I feel like those are the telltale signs that we do need to be conscientious of. Because if someone can't rejoice with you when you're rejoicing, there's more than likely some comparison and some jealousy creeping in, especially if you start noticing that competition is also creeping in. And I think we've both personally experienced those things at different times from different people, different ways. But I'm sure those of you that are listening or watching, you know, can probably testify, you know what, this is starting to ring a bell. I think I've also experienced this.
And we must check ourselves too. That
because it can only continue if you allow it to.
See, and that's it. When you find yourself not at that happy place that you should be, then that's the time to self-reflect and say, you know what, I need to get it together, because, you know, it's putting yourself in that position will give you a good indication within yourself how you should respond and how you should feel.
Yeah. And it's sad that we have to even deal with those type of things and deal with people like that, but such is life. It is what it is. It happens where people are just going to suffer with their own issues, and then those issues that they're having, they become, you know, what they project and see and use as a filter as they're viewing life. So now you have this competition that you might not have even signed up for that you're now in, and you're running a race against somebody that you didn't even know you was running a race against. And now we're trying to get to a finish line that we didn't even know existed.
Exactly, that there was a finish line to get to.
Yeah, like who knew? Who knew we were racing right now?
Right.
I didn't know.
I know that's right. But you know, but we need to really be more aware of how we treat situations
and how we treat people.
Yes.
For sure, because it's not I would say a requirement to have these things in your relationships with people and your friendships with people, but it has become much more common, I think, where people are having to navigate having, you know, friends that are in competition with them, or friends, quote unquote friends, of course, that are jealous of them in some capacity, or just comparing themselves to them in other capacities. And that's just not healthy. And it's dangerous too when you start opening up to people and sharing your life or sharing secrets and dreams with people, and then it's like they're maybe even manipulating and doing things to sabotage. I mean, it can go very deep and be very harmful. So you don't want those kinds of people in your life.
And these things we put out here to make you conscientious, so that you can be self-aware and you can put yourself in check. Because the only way that you're going to be a better person is that you have to take a look at yourself and be sure that you're at the right place, and your thinking is at a right place. And then once you put your mask on,
all I know is the psalmist said, I'm talking to the man in the mirror. That's what the songwriter said.
All right now. And that's why I said, and I always use this analogy, is that once, if the oxygen mask comes down, put yours on first.
That's what the instructions say. Okay.
And then you can help
someone else. That's what the demo video instructed us to do. Put yours on first.
Put yours on first.
Don't be following what these movies and told y'all and then putting other folks on first. That ain't even how you supposed to do it.
That ain't the way.
But no, so we have a great episode for you guys today. We're excited to talk about just the digital leap that has taken place in how we deal with life, how we deal with news, how we deal with relationships and people. And we're, like I said, be diving into that a lot more. But we do have a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to WDRB Media, the voice of the community. We are so excited to have you joining us on today's episode of The Digital Leap. For those of you tuning in on TuneIn Radio or Apple Music Radio, we appreciate you. You can also join and listen at WDRBmedia.com. So, we have been talking about news and how news travels a lot differently now, and how you get your news from, typically.
Yeah, Facebook, primarily, but I don't really take it all that serious until
it's still an update, though. It's still news coming to you.
Yes.
And where else?
And there's this news break that I get as well.
Oh, the app.
The app, yeah. And sometimes, TV.
Right. Okay. Obviously, yeah, the news still comes on TV, guys.
Yes,
for those of you
does.
that aren't aware, news still comes on. There's even papers, newspapers still exist. So for me, I'm primarily getting news updates from Twitter. There's different journalists, different people that, will have news updates that they're tweeting in real time, which is what I enjoy. And then I can click links to read more, or, there's probably a, whole thread of conversation going on at that point. So it just kind of depends on what the news is, if it's worth reading an article, or if it's just, some kind of pop culture thing that you don't need all of the details. Oh, okay, this happened. Moving on. But yeah, so how we disseminate news nowadays has changed from the current generation versus to what? 15 years ago, maybe less. I don't even know.
Yeah, but can you imagine? My parents would be in a culture shock right now.
Oh, wow, yeah, they would.
If oh my goodness.
A Celica? What's a Celica? For those of you that aren't familiar, that would be a cell phone. But yeah, they would definitely have a culture shock because, okay, so during their era, how was news shared and released?
It was basically radio and TV. Those were them, and the newspaper, of course.
Right.
Yeah, those were the three basic forms of news. Getting the news.
Right.
And other than people telling you.
Of course, word of mouth ain't going nowhere. To this day, folks running the mouth. So here we are on the radio running our mouths. But but I'm like, man, even then, okay, so radio, television, but I have to point this out. Television went off at a certain time back then.
Absolutely.
So around what time did it go off?
Midnight for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and you would get this.
Because I remember that. But
yeah.
I mean, not that I experienced it, but I remember learning about that.
Yeah, that's right. When it became, midnight. When it came to be midnight, there was this pattern that came on. And there was a little sound that was made, and it was they signed off. That's all, folks.
That's hilarious, because I'm just thinking about how, nowadays channels might quote unquote go off as far as programming regular shows, but now they have infomercials because they still want to get those advertising dollars.
Right.
So they just found a way to make sure they can still keep making money, regardless of if people are, for the majority, sleep. And then obviously there's way more channels now, so that's neither here nor there. There's way more channels.
Can you imagine back in the 50s that you had maybe one or two channels, and that was it, and then they signed off at midnight,
Yeah, that's different. And I'm kind of assuming that at some point channels might have even went off way before midnight. Maybe in the, you're referring to the 50s, and television has been around since I can't even think now. I used to know these random facts, guys, and I can't remember right now. But I'm thinking, even with the radio, there's only so much information that can be shared, quickly. Because, I'm comparing this to social media, and in particular Twitter, where you have a news feed that's constantly being updated at every second of every moment of the day. It was not like that.
Oh, absolutely not.
So it was going to take days sometimes for news to catch up, depending on where the news was taking place. So, for example, if you have something big that took place up east and you guys were down south, it might take a couple days to reach y'all. Give me an example.
And then the big question was, have you heard anything yet?
Right.
That was the question.
Almost like, are we there yet?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no, we are not there yet. But like, give me an example. Can you think of something that happened that you guys found out a few, like, maybe days later?
Well, but now when you say that, you know what my mind went to was that Juneteenth.
Oh, Lord. Now, see, why you had to bring...
I know. That's what came to my mind.
I was not talking about Juneteenth, y'all. That was not... We were not going to the 1800s with this.
But anyway, well, you know, like if something happened in the family, you know, it may take the day to say, well, when did this happen? You had to ask that question because nowadays, you know, well, did you get such and such? Just, you know,
I just got off the phone with them or
you know,
something. Yeah.
But back then, it was like maybe a day or so. Oh, it happened day before yesterday or earlier in the week, you know, and you just not hearing about it.
Way more time would have passed in between information.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then by that time, stuff could have changed, but you wouldn't know. So you're still operating off of old information.
The first
Man,
news.
That's got to be nerve-wracking. Just, my goodness.
But then the thing about it, though, you know, it was what it was. You know,
you weren't expecting anything different, so you didn't have anything to compare it to.
Exactly. So you're not
disappointed per se. You're just accepting it.
You just said, well, we're waiting to hear the news, you know.
Yeah.
So
that is a culture shock, though, because now, okay, so this has me thinking. So my grandparents, born in the very early 1920s and teens, actually. So like somewhere between 1910 and 1920, they were born. Right?
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly, we did a little bit of genealogy. So the early teens of the 1900s, we'll say that. So now from then, that's over 100 years now, to now have cell phones, apps that are giving you news alerts and updates, to now, okay, Mom, how do you feel about this? I can chat with a AI, artificial intelligence, ask a question and get an answer, a very detailed answer, might I add, and you can continue that conversation with that said AI chatbot and get, you know, either pertinent information, or if you're like trying to problem solve something, you can communicate with the chatbot in order to get to a resolution. Like, how does that make you feel?
Oh man, I'm telling you, it makes you stop and think, say, wow, how far have we come, you know, and is this really real?
Is this real life?
Yeah, it really makes you stop and think, because it will always cause you to reflect. It always brings about reflections, because you just realize that we have come a long way when it comes to communications. You know?
Oh, for sure, especially in such a short amount of time. Because, I mean, cell phones have been around for a while. I think the first time I saw a cell phone was in the baseboard of the car. I don't remember which car it was. Was that the Pontiac? Pontiac Bonneville? Yeah, so that was my first time, like, us having a cell phone, but it wasn't called a cell phone at the time. It was a mobile phone, I think.
Yeah, car phone.
Car phone, that's what it was. Duh, it was in a car. Yeah, so there was a car phone. Now my uncle, he had one, Dad's brother. He had a cellular phone. I remember that. And then not too long after, you had a cellular phone. It was like one of those gray, kind of like 2 to 3 inch thick phones. I don't even know how this stuff happened, but at least we were.
But wait a minute, before we get to the cell phones, now we have to backtrack a minute, because listen, remember, which was really, really a hot thing, was the what's the little things that you wore on the hip? Oh my God,
the beepers, pagers.
Pagers, that's right.
Oh man,
you remember that?
Yeah, I do. That's so weird.
And that was the first communication before the cell phones.
That's true. Because it was a big thing for doctors to be able to have that, so they could be paging Dr. So-and-so, but it hit their hip.
And then you had the phone booths.
Yeah.
So before we get to the cell phones, we have to go back.
Phone booths weren't a big thing for me, but they were a big thing for you.
Remember Superman used to go in the phone booth.
That is true. He did, and he spin around in there,
and then come out. He flew.
Zang, something like that.
Yeah, but can you imagine all of these steps that we?
Yeah, the progress of it all.
Yeah, we have to backtrack, because there was and you needed a dime.
Oh, yeah, to make a call.
To make a call.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So payphones existed, guys. Yes. I don't know if you even know what a payphone is, but it was a phone, a landline style phone that was in your neighborhood.
And you had to dial the number.
Oh, yeah, the rotary. For those of you that are unfamiliar with these things, you're just going to have to go to Google because it just, you have to see it to believe it.
It's a leap, I'll tell you.
It's a definite leap because I'm thinking now one of the phones that we had in our house was a rotary phone.
Yes, it was.
It was cute too. It was like a little pearl little thing with like the gold trim. It wasn't real gold, of course, but it was really cute. I remember that. But it's really interesting though because most people nowadays don't even have a landline.
No.
We went from a party line to a landline to cell phones.
Yeah.
And of course, there were some steps in between because you mentioned the pager of how, you know, people would have those on their hip and they get paged and then they could go find a payphone. Basically, I remember when it went from 10 cent to 25 cent and everybody thought the world was ending because we went from 10 cent to make a call to 25 cent.
You got to pay 25 cents now for a call.
And then it went up to like 50 cent. And then I think they were obsolete not too long after that.
But cellular.
Yeah. So, okay. So the pagers, do you remember the two-way pagers? The ones that had the keypad on it where you could actually text back and forth with people?
Oh, no. How did I miss that?
No, yeah, because my brother had one.
Oh.
Yeah. Right. See, that's how I knew.
Yeah, they hid it from me. That's why.
Probably so. Probably so, actually, now that I think about it. Probably didn't want you to know because they want you asking no questions who they was talking to and why they was up so late talking to them in the first place. But anywho, that's water under the bridge now.
Yeah, sure is.
But no, there were these two-way pagers and I thought it was the absolute coolest thing in the world to go in a text message chain with someone. Like the concept of that just had me in a chokehold. Like, what? You can type somebody and they instantly get it and then they message you back. So I remember trying my darndest to find a two-way pager that I could use. Not that I had anybody that I could chat with. Right. Nobody else in my age group had one, but I wanted one so bad.
But you know what just popped when you said texting, you remember the two-way walkie-talkies?
Oh, yeah. We used to use those on road trips.
We did.
And that was cool. Yes. It was at the time.
What happened when we were traveling in tandem, we would each have a walkie-talkie in the car.
Right. So you got two cars on the road. Yes. Each car has a walkie-talkie, and we're all on channel 5.
And we're going to communicate where the stops are. If anyone needed to go, you know,
to the restroom or food or something,
you just, hey, listen, the next stop, pull in, you know.
You hit that button, breaker. This is, I don't know, whatever the code name was for the vehicle if we had one. This is car 2. We're getting a little hungry. When's the next stop? Because at this time, there was no GPS.
No.
So you just had to kind of like follow the mile markers and see, okay, in the next such and such number of miles, there's going to be an exit that at least had some restaurants or a gas station or something.
My goodness. You know what?
It's just so much has changed.
Yes, and when you think about it, can you imagine traveling using a road map and you mapping out, and if you didn't know how to read a road map, you were in trouble.
You were in trouble.
Yes, because
you mess around to be going west when you're supposed to be going south or something.
Absolutely.
And you'll end up in a whole incorrect city and state,
or end up off the beaten path, so to speak. You know, in the wrong territory.
I'm too brown. I don't want to do that. No, thank you.
I know. So
things have definitely changed because we went from those kind of maps to MapQuest. Remember MapQuest?
Yes.
You could just type in your destination address on MapQuest, and it would literally print out the direction. Well, it wouldn't print it yet. You would have to print it out.
Yeah, but then remember you go to AAA.
Oh yeah, I was young, so I forgot about that.
Yes, AAA. You could go. Everybody wanted AAA because they knew that AAA provided necessary
roadside assistance.
Yes, necessary stuff you need just for emergency sake when you're driving. And so you go to AAA, and they give you a triptych, and they map out your route for you. And all you had to do was.
I mean, that was really the inspiration of MapQuest because AAA was doing those things. Because that's where people were getting most of their maps from. The gas station maps, the ones that I remember seeing, always said AAA on them.
Okay, they did. Yeah, there a lot of them.
Yeah, I remember seeing that because Dad taught me how to read a map pretty young, just to make sure I knew how to find my way back if in case I needed to.
Yes, and
Mr. Safety himself.
for real, for real. And but you better. That was a necessary thing to have.
For sure. So we're going to continue this discussion because, there's much more to discuss here, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back to WDRB Media, Voice of the Community. And you're tuned in to the Digital Leap. Right now, we are having a flashback. Okay, let me tell you what. Yes. But we appreciate y'all for tuning in. We've just been discussing the digital leap that has taken place when it comes down to how we communicate, how news has gotten to us versus how it used to get to us, how we exchange information nowadays, and the subtleties that we have long forgotten. R.I.P. pagers. Except for the people that really do still use them. I'm assuming there are some fields that probably still use pagers, but it might look a little different now. Because I know that there is an app that you can use as a pager. Right. Or I should say, actually not a pager, I'm sorry, like a walkie-talkie. Oh. Yeah, so it chirps in, you talk to people, and then you chirp out type thing. There are apps for that.
Yeah, talking about taking you down memory lane.
I'm telling you.
It's a leap.
It is. A whole digital leap has taken place right underneath us. And it's good for us to talk about these things because you either don't know because you were just too young to know, or so much has happened that you really do forget.
That's it. That's the thing.
You really do forget.
And there's a saying, how soon we forget, and it's true.
It's true.
It's very true because things are moving so swiftly that sometimes it might become an overload.
Yeah, and so it's good for us to talk about these things to just remind us of the yesteryears.
Yes, how good God is.
Yeah, it brought us from a mighty long way. So I would encourage those of you that are just, really intrigued by remembering these type of things, or just being introduced to it because it's new to you, definitely search out some YouTube videos to take a look at some of these things that are just no longer popular, no longer in use, because it's just really cool to see what things looked like and how we use them and how they've changed for sure. So I was talking to you about AI because of just how much that is going to continue to change things for us. So let me give you an example. We have our cell phones and we'll text each other, right? So you'll send me a message, I send you a message back, or vice versa. That's totally normal. This is what we do, guys. We text people, right? Or we send them a voice memo.
That's the way it is.
Right. That's life. This is what we're used to. Imagine a world where now it's AI that is chatting with you via text message. At what point do you know who it is that you're talking to? At what point do we know this is my mom, or this is my sister, or my brother, or my dad that I'm texting back and forth with? Because AI is always like learning from us. The information that we give it, it uses that, times all of the people in the world that are using it, and it's multiplying this data. So how do we know who we're talking to? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It can get really wild out here, y'all. And so I'm just bringing these things up to encourage you to be aware of what's possible, not to scare you, hopefully, because I feel like if we're too scared, then we won't want to learn and we'll freak out and we'll shelter ourselves. But you can't fight progress.
No, you can't.
Once it exists, it exists.
You have to stay alert and keep and be aware at all times the changes that are taking place so that you can adapt, because
you have to.
Because if you don't adapt to what is going on, you're going to be left, as it says, behind the eighth ball, and then
and then you're going to be left in the dust.
That's right.
And then you're going to be looking crazy because you're like, well, I don't know how to do this. And then the kids will laugh at you if you're the grandparent that decided you weren't going to keep up with things, because now you're just looking outdated without even really having to.
And then the communication doesn't grow.
Your ability to communicate will definitely fall back because you're not up to date with the things that are happening.
And when you start talking with someone and they're not able to really carry the conversation, it becomes frustrating, and then it's like, never mind, exactly.
Why did I even bring this up?
Why am I going to bother? Because they're not going to know anyway.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
So you lose that and you don't want to lose that communication. You know, that's
So
a
there's
thing.
2 points here that I wanted to make. Obviously, the way communicating is changing because of AI, and also second point is how that's going to change our workforce. Because this is something that we've talked about, Mom, before.
Yes.
Things are very much so changing in the workforce. Inflation has gone up, but yet people's pay has not gone up, which is a whole problem.
Now,
but
don't
I
get
know,
me started.
I know. We're not going to go too far down that rabbit hole because it's very upsetting.
Yes.
However, it's true. Like inflation has, things like milk and eggs at $5 and $6, and yet people are only making $7, maybe $8 an hour. I don't know how in the world that makes sense, but here we are in a whole year 2023, year of our Lord. So I don't understand how that's right. However, I do realize that across states, it's not all $7 or $8. Like some states are at $15 an hour as their minimum wage. It's just a lot to be said there. However, inflation. So now the whole like job thing becomes a bigger issue because people need to make more money in order to afford to live. So people are not working the same job for 20 to 30 years anymore.
They aren't.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
they're finding other ways to supplement their income or just take up jobs like what were some of the ones that we talked about?
Uber.
Oh yeah, Uber. There's grocery delivery services. There are like more freelance jobs is really the term for it, where you're setting your own schedule and you're getting to make the money that you need to make, but you're doing it on your own time and schedule.
Exactly.
And that has allowed people to at least have some semblance of freedom and control over their lives, being as though there's all these other things that we can't control.
Because and mentally, that's where the big issue starts, because of the fact that you said you going and punching in, so to speak, and
on the time clock,
and you don't feel that you're making any progress, and you don't feel that
you're in the rat race,
and you don't feel that you are able to provide just the bare necessities of life, and it becomes a burden. So people try to find different means,
and I don't blame them, because it's kind of like, well, you got to look out for yourself because ain't nobody else gonna do it. That's first and that's foremost. Then you have a world where inflation is what it is, and the cost of living has continued to increase while the wages have continued to just kind of stay the same.
And you know what I call that? A crime against humanity.
Yeah. It is.
Yes, it's a crime.
It is, because we should not have to work an hour worth of wages for one food or grocery item. Like that is just preposterous to me. I cannot wrap my head around that.
No.
However, like I said, that has produced a drive, I would call it, where people want to do more things that are less traditional as far as work is concerned.
Yeah, it brings about inventions.
Ingenuity for sure.
That's the word that I think covers it all, because of the fact that when you want to provide and you want to have the bare necessities of life, and you
just that alone.
Just that alone. When you just want the bare necessities and you find it difficult to meet that, it becomes a burden, and sometimes those burdens will force you into doing something about it,
Yeah, and I hope that it's one of those situations where you're not having to do illegal things in order to meet needs, because that's what unfortunately happens to folks, is they end up in situations they should not be, and the consequences of those actions are what they are. However, you have things like, again, we mentioned like Uber and Lyft as alternatives, where people are driving their cars, or there's even like lease programs now.
But you know what? I just need to interject this, because the jobs have changed.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to, that's why it's important to keep up with the changes that are taking place. And especially you young folks, you really need to pay attention, because like right now, you go in the grocery store and you can self-checkout. That's a machinery that someone invented, and somebody programs it, and there is a lot of nuts and bolts on keeping it operative.
There's programming involved.
So you have to be ready to make the change in your thinking, so that you can be able to have the bare necessities of life.
Yeah, so that was kind of my point as well, with like just the landscape of the workforce changing. While some jobs are absolutely going to be obsolete, just like how technology that we were just referring to, like rotary phones, pay phones, and pagers are more so obsolete, have changed forms. Jobs are going to continue to change forms.
They are.
However, because of technology, because of things like AI, because of just this digital leap that we're in, there's new jobs that are being created because of new needs. And what that opens up, we have not even fully experienced yet, but it doesn't mean that, you know, it's woe is me,
right,
and everything has to be all bad news, because you can learn tech, you can learn programming. There's like so much in the tech field now that can be learned, and a lot of things are entry level, a lot of things are experiential or experience based, where you don't necessarily have to have a 4-year degree to do it. So that's really impressive in my opinion, because that opens up people's world to being able to like get the training that they need, maybe get some certifications that they need, and get really good paying jobs.
Yeah, and find out that, hey, listen, I do have the intelligence to really make a difference and really handle these things that was more or less.
Yeah, because if you didn't have the intelligence, you would be getting a check from Social Security for being underdeveloped in some way. Like there would be. So you're not dumb.
No.
You know what I mean? Like people really just shortchange themselves and what they're capable of because of other issues.
And because sometimes the lack of opportunity has always
played
a part.
Or just awareness of the opportunities.
And so these are things, and that's why it's so important that we remain diligent in seeking out and keeping aware of what's going on, so that we can.
So to that point, so that we can grow and do better, right?
Yes.
That's what we always want to tell people to be encouraged about. Here's a cheat code on how you can find out about more opportunities, because again, if you don't know, you don't know. And you can, you know, be sad and depressed because of the things you don't know, because maybe you want better for yourself, but you don't know how to achieve those things, right? Well, here's a cheat code for y'all that are watching and listening. Whenever you talk about a topic, a subject, and are, you know, curious about something, your phone is listening and paying attention.
Yes.
So if you want to know more about tech, if you want to know more about available jobs, if you want to know more about artificial intelligence, you have to start Googling and talking about these things on your phone or around your phone. And I guarantee you those things are going to start popping up, because advertisements are going to start, you know, popping up for you.
That's a good point.
Social media is going to start showing you trending topics around those things that you're searching for and looking at. That's the best way for you to be opened up to new opportunities, is to use the thing in your hand all the time as the cheat code.
Yes, because, you know, at one time people used to go to the library.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I love the library.
Yeah, the library is a very good institution.
It's peaceful.
Yeah, and there's a lot of information housed in the library, and you could get an education just by going to the library and reading and just seeing what's all there. And that's another, if you want to get away in some quiet time and just
safe
really,
place.
Yeah, that's a beautiful place to go to educate yourself. You can get a free education there. And also, as you mentioned, the phone is there.
A whole database of information.
Plethora.
Plethora.
Get my tongue tied. But yeah, there's a plethora of information there that
right
you
there.
can grab and sit down and, you know, don't get so caught up in the likes and who liking this and that. Get yourself an education, because I'm going to tell you, I used to tell your brothers, and I didn't have to tell you too much, because you was always motivated to learn and to do. But
well, thank you.
Yes, yes. But I would always tell them, you know what? Those people are making their money. You got to make yours
to make. I done heard this so many times.
And I want to pass that on. I'm not going to pay you, charge you for this piece of information. But those people are making their money. You got yours to make. So you need to get an education by any means necessary, by going to the library or using the phone that's in your hand.
So to your point, and back to the method that I was referring to, the quote unquote cheat code, in order to find out and learn about more things. Just in a scenario that I'll give, if I'm talking to you all the time about pop culture and the latest reality show or my favorite, movie star or TV star, music artist, whatever's popular that I'm into, and I'm talking about that all the time, my phone is going to continue to show me just exactly that because that's what it thinks that I want to see more of. And to an extent, maybe that's true. However, if I want to open up my horizon, so to speak, if I want to open up my world to more things, and those things may be new to me, but I'm still open to it and want to learn and grow some more, then I need to start talking about those things and searching up those things. So search up cyber tech, search up artificial intelligence, search up, the newest jobs that are becoming, open in the new year, 2023 and 2024 projections, all those kinds of things. So we'll continue this conversation because, again, we're just here to help. We're just here to shed some love and some inspiration. So we'll be right back after these messages. You're tuned into WDRB, Voice of the Community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to WDRB Media, the Voice of the Community, back with just the last segment of the Digital Leap with your host, CookieTruth and
Blanche Drayton Robinson, the Watcher.
Yeah, so we appreciate y'all for tuning in to our episode. We've been diving into just the digital leap that has taken place, everything from news media outlets to pagers and Celicas to artificial intelligence and cyber tech and job security. Because job security doesn't mean what it used to mean.
No, because people started on a job and stays until 25, 30 years, and there aren't that many jobs now.
You don't even have to.
Well, not unless I think teaching. And some, and probably
like
running
trades.
A business.
And like if you're a plumber, if you're a doctor, if you're an HVAC repair person, those are the type of jobs that the traditional sense of job security, when it comes down to like working the same job for many, many years and knowing job security has a little bit of a different meaning now, though, because job security, at least in my opinion, now looks like what's secure for, the future, but that doesn't even mean that you have to be on that job for decades.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because it's ever changing. We are in a very rapidly changing world, and you can go from one thing exactly. So because like being a freelancer, a person who picks up a job based on like that particular task, I don't foresee that as a career changing. It just has so many different categories and so many different ways that it can go. But being a freelancer, I don't think that's going anywhere because people like getting groceries delivered. It just might change from a person to a robot at a certain point, because drones are already delivering stuff. So that's just a matter of time. But there's still going to be other freelance jobs that are still going to need people. So it's just kind of like the job security role is just changing. And you've got to really just kind of educate yourself and
you have to.
And just remain alert and see the changes and
not be too afraid to keep learning.
And keep learning and really see and check yourself and what, where you fit in and what interests you that will drive you to the point that you'll want to go after it wholeheartedly,
Yeah, I think being interested in these things is the first step because some people are like just freaked out because it's scary or different or new, and so that makes them not want to be interested in it at all, and then they're like, I don't even want to know. And that's probably the worst thing you can do is to shut yourself off from where things are going, because I'll explain it to you listeners like this. Technology is truly like a locomotive where it's like gonna keep going forward.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Nobody is on a train to go backwards.
Nah.
You're not on a train to do that. It's always going forward. It may slow down, it may stop, for an update or to let something off. But it's going forward, and it's going forward very quickly, might I add. And that's the thing about progress. Once progress starts to build up, there ain't no going back. So sorry, it's not happening. So instead of being afraid and instead of shutting yourself off, you have to open yourself up to the possibilities of how you can fit into where things are going.
And don't be afraid to talk with people.
Yeah,
that,
ask questions,
yes,
learn, grow.
Yes, because that's how, sometimes you get the inspiration that you need to go after something.
It's true.
That would really drive you to the point of your success.
Yeah, and you never know the type of things, like there's a saying, you know how many seeds are in an apple, but you never know the amount of apples in a seed. And so you never know that piece of information or that experience of what you may learn that can open up and be, so fruitful and turn into so much more than what you thought you had. So you go from just having an apple to having a seed that grows into an orchard, right? So that's definitely one of the takeaways that we want you all to have from this whole conversation, is like, don't allow the fear of the future to stop you from being motivated or just being interested in what's to come.
And keep a positive attitude. And
you have to.
Yeah, just, and what may frighten you might be the very thing that will drive you.
It's true.
To getting to the point where you need to be. And and don't ever, and whenever you feel frightened about something, don't let it stifle you to the point that you just
don't
get
let it paralyze you and stop you from trying or moving forward or learning. You don't want that to happen.
That's not what it's for anyway.
And you know what I thought about? Most people, okay, like if you were to listen to people's stories or read their biographies and things like that, most people will say the thing that scared them the most was the thing that blessed them the most, or the thing that they became most successful in. It was the thing that they were the most afraid of, because it took so much effort and it took so much of them to work at it. But that's what gave them the results, because the things that come easy for you and to you typically aren't going to be the things
the lasting things. Yeah,
they aren't going to typically be the things that get you to your goals. It can help.
You're right.
But it doesn't usually work out that way. And I don't know what that is in simple terms to dive into right now. Maybe that'll be a whole nother episode that we can dive into, what it looks like to be afraid and keep pushing anyway, and what you learn about yourself in the process. But if we can continue to grow, to learn, to push past fear, you can really open yourself up to a really, really dope life.
And, I have to throw this in because this has been one of the things that gave me hope and just given me the drive that I needed to achieve my goals in life. In that the scripture that says in Philippians 1:6, I believe it is, that anyway, don't quote me on that, but it's in Philippians.
Just Google it.
It said, yes. Here's what it says: that God did not give us the spirit of fear.
Oh yeah, power, love, and a sound mind.
Yeah. So we have to remember that if fear comes, don't, as we said, for God's sake, don't let it paralyze you.
Yeah.
And just remember that that's not the love that God wants for you, to be in fear and to lose out on the beauty that lies ahead. You've got to press past that and understand that that's not for you. That's not something that's going to help you to gain the momentum in life that you need to press forward into the future that you want for yourself. Because I'm sure that everyone wants a dynamic, successful future.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's not a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing. And I don't believe that anybody gets up in the morning and say, you know what? I'm going to have an awful future. I'm going to work towards an awful future.
Oh, God, I hope not. Oh, please.
I don't think anyone did.
Please, no, sir. Please, no.
And so we have to be very mindful that when fear comes, that's what fear wants to do, is to rob you of your future. But you can get past that.
It really does want to rob you. And that's the thing. Like, who enjoys getting robbed? I don't think anybody has ever said in their lifetime, oh, I really enjoyed that robbery. Like, what?
What in the devil?
Like, no, absolutely not. So all we're trying to communicate to you all is to not allow your own self, your own fears to self-sabotage and allow, your goals and what it is that you desire for your life to be hindered because of fear. Like, that's super whack, y'all. Hate to break it to you, but you got to know, you got to hear the truth. And here we are. So we want to encourage you to definitely fight for, growth, fight for progress, to learn, to, be intrigued by the things.
Accomplish. Because That's the
Absolutely.
fight. You know that you can accomplish it if you go after it and you fight for it and you find out all the information you need to get to the end of the progress that you're trying to make, so that you can accomplish what it is you've set out to do. So don't let fear, don't let anything hinder you from that.
You definitely don't want to be hindered, because you want to be able to reach your full potential.
Absolutely.
At least I hope that's what you want for yourself. And if you haven't had anybody to encourage you to do that, to reach your full potential, then let us encourage you to reach your full potential.
Because there are treasures in you.
Yeah.
And the treasures that is in you is going to be brought about by you exposing yourself to knowledge and asking questions and understanding that fear is not a part of that.
Yeah, fear is not your friend.
No.
Fear is not somebody to just be kicking it with and be like, all right, well, it is what it is. We here. And
we can't do that, right?
Yeah,
no,
so you just light up another one because you got your friend Fear hanging with you. Like, nah. We're not going to accept that.
That's not how it works.
And we won't accept that for you because we want you to know better, because when you know better, you do better.
Absolutely.
And when you do better, you get better results. So with that said, we so appreciate you guys for tuning in with us. This has been another episode of The Digital Leap with your host, CookieTruth and
Blanche Straighton Robinson, the Watcher.
Yes, so continue to tune in every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of The Digital Leap. We're here to talk about how the digital age has really, really changed things from my perspective to your perspective to everything in between. We are currently digitally leaping.
Yes, for sure.
Are we not?
Oh, yes.
So tune in with us every week, again, Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to The Digital Leap. You've been listening to WDRB Media, the voice of the community. We'll see you next time.
Peace.